Hey, Chiefs Kingdom, happy training camp. I don't know about y'all, but football finally feels real again. We've moved past the OTAs, past the speculation. We've moved past best shape of his life season. Now we've got helmets, practices, position battles, and actual football to talk about. We're only a handful of training camp practices in, but I already think we're learning a lot about this football team. Today, I want to talk about what's standing out, what's maybe getting a little overhyped because it is preseason and it is training camp, who I'm keeping my eye on, and why I think this team has a completely different feel than it did a year ago. But before we jump into football, we do have to acknowledge the incredibly sad news surrounding Eric Bieniemy and his family. If you somehow missed this, his wife was seriously injured in a shooting involving their youngest son. Eric understandably stepped away from training camp to be with his family, and there's really no football take here, just perspective. That some things are bigger than this game that we all love. Our thoughts are absolutely with Eric Bieniemy and his family, and we're wishing Mia a full recovery and peace for everyone involved as they navigate something that no family should ever have to face. She is out of ICU, she is stable, and they're gonna have to put the pieces back together here. And there's not a timeline. So, wishing them all the best as they navigate the situation. Now, let's huddle up. And we just appreciate how different Patrick Mahomes looks right now. Not because he's throwing 70-yard bombs or he's making ridiculous no-look passes, because he looks comfortable, confident, relaxed. And honestly, that might be the biggest win of this entire offseason. Think about where we were just a few months ago. There were legitimate questions. Would he be ready for camp? Would he have limitations? Would he need a modified workload? Would he even play in the preseason? But now he's taking full team reps. He's moving well. He's cutting, rolling out, planting, doing everything we've come to expect from Patrick LaVon Mahomes. And the thing I loved most from his press conference wasn't even about his health. It was what he said about his own game. He admitted that he wasn't playing his best football before the injury. And that's wild because most quarterbacks would have blamed injuries, bad luck, protection, receivers, all these excuses. But he basically said, I've got to get better. And that's leadership. And that's why he's Patrick Mahomes and why we also love him. Now, the question everybody keeps asking, does he play in the first preseason game? And personally, I think he does. Not a quarter, not a half, maybe one or two drives. And honestly, I don't think Andy Reid needs to evaluate Patrick Mahomes. He needs Patrick to remember what it feels like to play football again. And there's a difference between those two things. Because that first time a defender comes screaming through the middle, that first time he has to slide in the pocket, or he gets bumped after a throw, getting those moments out of the way before week one is really valuable. So, yes, my prediction is that we see Patrick Mahomes in preseason very briefly. So, don't blink. Let's talk about everyone's favorite training camp tradition, and that is overreacting. Every year, there's a guy who catches three passes in shorts, and suddenly social media is ready to order his gold jacket. Slow down, y'all. That being said, there are a few names that keep popping up and for good reason. And that's Cyrus Allen. Absolutely, Cyrus Allen. His name is everywhere right now. Patrick seems comfortable throwing his way. Coaches keep mentioning him. Teammates are noticing him. And that's usually a pretty good sign. I also like what I'm seeing, hearing about Noah Williams. Felix FAU, he seems to be taking another step, which would be huge for this pass rush. And then I think people are sleeping on some of these young offensive linemen. So Issa Pole, especially Khalil Benson, those guys, they don't make the highlight reels, but absolutely win football games. And they're a position group to watch, as it's been really interesting the first few days here to see who's in at right tackle, who's in at left tackle, and then who's not in. and who's kind of taken a seat to these youngins. Now, on the flip side of all this, there are a couple guys we haven't heard much about. And before everyone starts panicking about this happens every single year. Some players do start slow. They're a crock pot, not a microwave. And some players, they explode as soon as the pads come on. So wait till Monday. Some guys are practice players. Some guys are gamers. And training camp in shorts, that's like judging Thanksgiving dinner by smelling it while it's still in the oven. Of course, it's going to smell good. So it tells you something, but not everything. The real evaluations start once the hitting begins. And that's when we'll learn who's really ready. One player I'm still watching closely is Mansoor Delane. He's still working in the yellow jersey, so he's limited, but I actually think there's a silver lining here. He's still getting mental reps, he's learning the defense, he's watching veterans, he's building chemistry. Sometimes the mental side of being a rookie is just as important as the physical side. If he can get healthy sooner rather than later, he may not be as far behind as people are starting to think he could be. Now, you know what keeps standing out to me about all of this so far? Real early take, one weekend, not even, is the vibe. Nobody sounds satisfied. Nobody sounds defeated. Nobody sounds like they're trying to erase last season. They're just hungry, focused, businesslike. And Andy Reid's message has been incredibly consistent. Last year doesn't matter anymore. And Patrick echoed that message. This team isn't trying to rewrite history. This team is writing a new chapter. And I really love that. Now, before we wrap things up, I want to try something new. Every camp episode, I'm going to leave y'all with my Huddle heat check. 5 quick takes on where things stand right now. These might change next week, and that's okay because honestly, that's half the fun of training camp. So the player I'm buying stock into, based on what I've seen and based on what I've read this week, is Cyrus Allen. The player I'm watching closely, Mansoor Delane. Let's get you healthy and let's get you in there. The unit winning camp so far, definitely the defensive line for me. The question I still need answer is who locks down wide receiver 3? And then my prediction for next week is that Patrick Mahomes takes a preseason series. And I can't wait to see that. So now I want to hear from y'all. Who is your biggest training camp standout so far? Who do you think is flying under the radar? And do you think Patrick Mahomes plays in the preseason? Do you think he should? Or would you rather keep him on the sideline until week 1? Drop your thoughts in the comments for me because I read every single one of them and I love seeing where your thoughts are at as well. So if you enjoyed hanging out with me today, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and share this episode with another Chiefs fan who's counting down the days until football is officially back. I'm Hong, this is Chiefs Huddle, and as always, go Chiefs.